Uh, Tell us a bit about yourself, Bante.
Yeah. Okay, Rose. Thank you for this interview. I am Bante Pemaratana, a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk, but now I work as I serve as the chief abbot of Pittsburgh Buddhist Center and also at Cleveland Buddhist Vihara. I was ordained at quite early age. When I was a 10 years old boy, I became a novice monk, and then I got my training in Sri Lanka under my master and many other teachers. And then when I completed my education, and then I was invited to come and serve in Pittsburgh. And then later we have a group that was in Cleveland who were coming to Pittsburgh Buddhist Center, and sometimes we also came to Cleveland. But eventually we started our new temple in Akron. We call it Cleveland Buddhist Vihara and Meditation Center, but it is located in Akron.
What drew you to become a monk?
Yeah, that's. I became a monk, as I told you, at a quite early age. When I was 10 years old, I didn't have any clear, idea of a monkhood. But I was drawn to the peace of the temple. And whenever I visited my temple in Sri Lanka, in my village, I felt so peaceful. I liked the clean environment and neat environment in the temple. So whenever I go home, I felt like everything is cluttered. There are so many things around, and so many noise and voices. So I was drawn into that peacefulness in the temple. And I had a distant relative who was very spiritual, and he encouraged me actually to become a monk. But my parents didn't like that idea, because I'm the first child in the family, and I had one sister and one brother. So when I was 10 years old, my parents didn't want me to leave them, because you had to leave them to go to a monastery. But I struggled. I kept demanding. And ultimately, they gave their permission for me to become a novice monk. Yes.
Bante, you are very learned in Buddhist studies. What have you been able to incorporate into the viharas based on your education?
Yes, my master, encouraged me to study, since I was a small monk, and he really pushed me to study English. He pushed me to study, the Buddhist teachings, and even he pushed me to study other subjects. So then, after I completed my monastic education, I entered to universities, and I, follow my undergraduate in comparative religions, and then I went to Singapore and I did my master's in philosophy. And then when I came to the U.S., while I'm serving at the Pittsburgh Buddhist Center, I did my doctorate studies in religious studies at the University of Pittsburgh. So it was a good journey for me, and what I incorporated into our programs in the temple is that because of my exposure to these other religions and philosophies, I was able to design the plan, programs that can address the basic religious needs of the people. And it kind of helped me to understand the psychology, and help me to understand particularly children's mind. And so I was able to design and programs that can suit to children and suit to adults. So I was able to incorporate many of the things I'd learned in the universities to my program, and mainly to increase educational programs in the Cleveland Buddhist Temple and also in Pittsburgh Buddhist Vihara.
Tell us what people may expect when they come to the vihara.
When they come to Cleveland Buddhist Vihara, they may meet a monk. Maybe they will meet few monks, and the monks live in the Pittsburgh in Cleveland Buddhist Vihara. Monks from Sri Lanka. They had good training in Sri Lanka, so they will meet a good, well-trained and educated monk here, and they will also see a Buddha statue, and then they will be able to learn about Buddhism, and definitely they will receive a good welcome. Because many of the monks are very friendly and very open to discuss anything, and very open to talk to newcomers. So you'll be able to see, and we'll also be able to see some culture, how people interact with monks, and then and how you can you will be able to learn to meditate. You'll be able to learn to chant, and you'll be able to learn Buddhist culture too.
What is different about our tradition of Buddhism?
Yes, Buddhism has few traditions, because Buddhism have been on this earth for more than 2 millennia, about the 26th century. So throughout this long history, Buddhism was evolved into few traditions. Mainly we have three main traditions. The tradition that we follow is called Theravada tradition. It is the tradition that is followed in countries like Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and those countries. And then the second tradition is called Mahayana tradition, and in countries like Taiwan, Japan, Korea, you find this tradition. And then we also have the third tradition, what we call Vajrayana tradition, that is followed in Tibet and Mongolia and other countries. So the tradition that you will find in Cleveland Buddhist Vihara is the Theravada tradition.
What role does meditation play in Buddhism, and what forms does it take?
Okay. The meditation play a very important role in Buddhist practice. But of course, meditation is not the only Buddhist practice, but it's one of the core practices. So in Buddhist practice, we aim to transform our personality into a more kind and wise personality. Usually, anybody can have certain weaknesses and failures in our personality. So we want to transform our personality from suffering, from complaining a personality to be a kind and compassionate and wise personality. So that transformation takes a lot of practice. So we have the practice of generosity at the beginning. We try to be generous in sharing our time and whatever we have, and be generous. And then we move from generosity to moral practices. We follow precepts and try to be try to maintain, try to keep our body and speech in a way that we don't harm anyone. And then we will move into more advanced practice of meditation. The meditation is the key practice, because it is in the meditation that real transformation happens. But in order for us to make our meditation successful, we need to do all the preliminary practices of generosity, acts of generosity, and then following moral precepts. So the meditation addresses the core of our mind and really transform our mind and help us to reduce our craving, reduce our greed, reduce our hatred, and to become calm and kind and wise. But meditation is a part of a larger program.
What are the most important things you think a layperson should do in their pursuit of enlightenment?
As a layperson, what a layperson can do in their journey towards enlightenment? I think, as I told you, this journey is a gradual journey. So therefore, as a layperson, they can start with following precepts, mainly the 5 precepts. So as a layperson, we can start by following these 5 precepts. The first precept is to not to kill or harm any living beings, and then not to steal, and this third is not to engage in unethical sexual activities, and in respect one's commitment to one's partner, or maybe and then respect one's commitments and others' commitments. And then the fourth precept is to be truthful, not to tell lie and cheat other people. And the fifth precept is to not to use any intoxicants, mainly actually alcohol and other drugs that will cloud your mind. And because we want to develop our mindfulness, any drug, any alcohol will not help you to develop mindfulness. So following this basic 5 precepts is the beginning of a spiritual journey for a layperson. And in addition, you can also do act of generosity, charity, and then we can also start practicing meditation, maybe simple forms of meditation.
What advice do you have for a layperson starting practice?
For a layperson to start practice, as I told you, they can start with these precepts. But one thing I will advise a layperson is actually to start a routine, daily routine that routine that they incorporate Buddhist practices. So they can start their day with simple chanting, recitation, and meditation. It doesn't have to be long. We can start very simple chanting, recitation as an affirmation recitation. In Buddhism, we have positive affirmation recitations and short chantings. You can start with that and do a short meditation, and make it a routine is very important. And then they can also start practicing helping others. Whenever they meet someone along the way, whenever they have people, at their workplace, try to be kind. Although other people may not be very kind, but if we start to be kind, we can actually influence other people. So just take the responsibility. Don't be ruled by others. Don't be ruled by the external environment, and try to initiate our own action and try to be kind as much as you can. That will change the environment. That will change the others too.
What are some of the common hurdles, and how can we get past them?
The common hurdles for our practice will be like, as I told you earlier, we will, when we practice like generosity and kindness, and then one hurdle will be that, we will not meet nice people all the time. We will meet people with, that the people who are difficult to deal with. Because people are going through a lot of issues in their lives, and there's a lot of suffering in their lives. So therefore, many people that we will meet may not be that nice. So that will be one hurdle, when we start our practice, because it's difficult to be kind, when you are dealing with the person who may not be very nice. But I think that's the challenge that we need to take, and it's a hurdle, but we should not give up our practice. We try our best to be patient and be kind as much as we can. By being kind to others, we can also change others. The best way to change other people is to change our response to them. So if we change our response, although other person is mean and unkind to us, we will be patient, and we will try to find an opportunity to at least say some kind words to that person. And by doing that, we can change the other person gradually, not at once, gradually. So the other hurdle I find is actually our own laziness, because when we start to practice, we will lose our interest. We will have many other things to do in our lives. So we will not continue. We will not stick to our practice because of the other, busy schedule is in our life. So I will encourage, people to not to get lazy along the way, because this practice is going to be so helpful. And as human beings, we should bring value to our lives. And we will not have a long time to live on this earth. We will only have number of years to live in this earth. So we don't have much time actually. So therefore, use whatever time that we have, and don't get lazy. Think about the death. Remembering the death is very important for us to get active in our practice, get rid of the laziness. Because Buddha said that, we only have a specific number of days that we can live. If you live 100 years at most, we only have 36,565 days, right? I think I got the number, if you live 100 years, we will have 36,500 days. So that's the most days we will get. But many of us will not even live 100 years. And then, so in that case, we will have less days. And we already have passed many days already. So we will not have, maybe 20,000 days or maybe 15,000 days left in our life. So therefore, think about that. Buddha said that contemplating on the inevitable death can give us encouragement to practice. So I will encourage you to continue to practice and don't lose interest and don't get lazy. And we can be better than this. We can evolve ourselves to higher levels. So use this precious human life to be the best version of yourself. And this is not the best version of yourself. You can continue to work to make the best version of yourself, to be more compassionate, to be wiser, so you can help and benefit so many other people, other beings, and you can also have a deeper peace and happiness within yourself.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're most welcome, Rose. Thank you for this invitation to have this interview. I really appreciate your effort. I also wish you all the blessings to continue your path.